Okay, let's get started on this Botany Bay. Hey, that rhymed. Anyway, I already got all the parts for this version. I think I'm going to do another version, like I said, with the pods going all the way across, with the 3 engines back here. That's really the only, and do where it has 2 or 4 on each side, where the original series only had just the 2. I think it would need to make a completely different version of it too. This piece here, let's clean some parts up here. This one here, I cleaned those up best I could. This one here, most of the supports were on the back, which is where I try to put them. But it had a little bit down here that it had to hold when you put it at a 40 at an angle. All those are clean. I just got to clean these parts. This has already been cleaned up. So double check. I mean, the grill detail is really nice. But yeah, with the engine one, you could pop through here with wire. I imagine this is all solid, just like this, with the engine bells. And then you just drill through the engine bells, come out here, and be able to put 3 LEDs right there. Let's sand a little bit of that. There's a, you see there's a little bit of a, so there's a little bit of difference. It might have been a wobble or something.
That's all good. I have the outside of the pylons to finish on this, and then I'm going to correct some of the light. Light blocking around.
This is kind of tricky. I guess it does it should come straight up and down because it's supposed to be on the flat surface. You kind of got to give this a little spread. Now, most of my smart to try to keep most of my supports underneath here. So the only other one I have is this very bottom plane where you can see a little bit of in this edge where these 2 come together. It looks like this was done like that. So that's why I have all supports around here. This one's going to be the faster. It'll be easier to file to keep it level. Or at least break off the initial big bumps. This one here, we just have that end and this bottom. And there might be, yeah, 1 or 2 because it did put a support out here on these, on this lower part. Really, that's all. It was only like 2 contacts. None of the wiring has been done. This is where I want to start getting a little belt and disc sander. Just a small one. They have like small ones at Harbor Freight, or you can find them on eBay. Where I can just sit here, maybe create a little vacuum, and you know, and I can just, and then it keeps me square. That would be the key. Since this has a flat edge, I can just go right up to the disc or the belt sander or disc sander and just give it a little touch, and then you get a nice square edge. And they're only about a bill, so I need to get one. Christmas is coming. But we'll keep working on that. But that's pretty. That's getting a lot nicer. And we're gonna have to, like I said, we're gonna have to putty in there anyway. And I think we can get this glued together and then seam it, and then drop this guy in. And if all that works, yeah, we'll be golden. So I will keep chopping away at this. All right, we can get this piece together. I was looking at maybe some lighting. I think I'll save if I do any lighting. Ooh, there's still supports in here. That's right. I was trying to break them off when they were still a little spongy and they didn't want to come out of here. They should come out now. Yeah, there they go. I gotta be careful. They might still be a little on the wet side. Oh no, they're cute. All right, but we can get this guy together. Yeah, looks pretty square. Super glue. I wonder if I should try to get some up on this edge too. There's my toothpick, and then we can kind of. This is looking good. It's all glued together. The segments on me gluing this together, my microphone went out. Still getting used to these Wi-Fi mics, turning them on and off. So the battery died. So I'm not sure if I'm going to, if you guys are going to see like a um, time lapse, just because really all it was is just cleaning, make sure everything's smooth and clean. Our biggest area was here, getting that one to fit tight, so there's less puttying, and it looks really good. We'll just put a little perfect plastic putty in there and wipe it down, let it dry, and then just wipe it down with water. This seam here is looking good. We'll have to fill that in. This one's great. I don't think I have to do a thing to this one. Maybe a little bit in that and that. Yeah, we could probably get the perfect plastic plate is great because I can thin it out and just get it in there, and then with a wet Q-tip clean anything out. Just get it in the actual crack. This one's amazingly good. I think the most I'd have to do is just clean it up. And then I think I can just take a file where the super glue just kind of oozed out a little bit. Yeah, goodbye. Yeah, so sorry about that. Like I say, it was just gluing parts together and cleaning them so they fit as tight as possible. So we have to do less putty. But most of them fit, like I said, most of them fit together good. This one did. And that one there, it was just this one here was a little weird. And this one here is a little weird. We'll have to fit just those little corners. So, but that's that. This is the one we're going to have to do some things to. We'll just fill in, I think, because this side is completely solid. So I guess we'll fill this in completely solid. I was like, do we make that, leave that as a panel line? But I think it would be better if it was solid. So it looks more like the back. They're just a solid block. The only seam line is those. Those came out nice and lined up. The other thing is here, to make this nice here, it's stepped a little bit. This side's not so bad. But we can kind of blend them in a little bit now. Oh, this side's coming out really good. Because it just had this little top corner. Down here, we're all right. anything there, our first coat of primer will fill in. I mean, I might squish some perfect plastic putty in there anyway. And that was just a little bit of super glue that came out, so that kind of filled it for us already. But yeah, we had a nasty gap there. I had to actually sit there and do this and try to press because this was a little warped. This is the one, quite major. We're gonna try to fix that illusion by slightly blending it. But I'm gonna fill in these seams on this. Do I want to do any little bit of filing? Yeah, we're going to want to sand some of this a little better. Well, the super glue cleaned up most of it. I was more worried getting the top nice on this piece. That's what you're going to see the most. I should have done all this before I glued the rest of them on. I don't have this long part in front. I think all that's going to blend in all right. Time to get new files. These are starting to get worn out. But I'm not going to bore you with that stuff. Puttying seams and sanding. Well, got some seams puttied up. I'd already sanded these, but this here and here needed a extra coat. Oh, that one feels really good too. Those are these here are good. I just had to re-putty those two a little bit more, and of course this one here because this was a little skewed up. So yeah, how'd that work? Oh yeah, this was a front, so those didn't quite line up. They lined up good in the bottom, so I figured I'd make sure these edges here would really line up really well, and I'll just fidget this one here. So we're just going to kind of build up and sand it smooth. Should be dry already. I used just perfect plastic putty, which dries pretty quick. This side came out okay. But this one was a little, this top was a little down to make it flush down here, because this would have been harder, and then plus if I tried to make it flush up here, your seam lines here weren't in line, so I worried about that area instead up here. Here I can just feather it in. So I'm going to let that dry a little bit longer, and just had a couple little more. We already did the bottom down here and I sanded it, but we had to get the sides here. The top looks good. Just had to fill in those little bit of sides and a little bit in those corners there. Not much. The rest of it went together. For the most part, this went together really nice. And I finally got my rods in, so we can actually start working on these antenna solar panels. Or I think that's what they're supposed to be. And I just filament printed these little junction tees really quick on the bamboo. It did it in like 5 minutes. So we'll have to sand them a little bit to get rid of it. To get rid of a little bit of the roughness. They still have their diameter nice. That's what's nice about the bamboo. DY-1 will keep its shape. It looks like what he said is they're 50 millimeters, which is 5 centimeters. So that's the length of the rod that comes out of here, out of the ends here, and even the rods that go up and down are 50 millimeters or 5 centimeters. And it just so happens that each one of these square blocks is 5 centimeters. So that works great. I have to keep pulling the ruler out. And I was wondering, I wasn't sure if they wanted it to be like one long rod and then two going into the T and then two short ones poking, kind of like one long rod like that and then two short ones poking up through. But they're saying from that, you push that one all the way through and then the long one coming out of here just plugs in. Which is what I was thinking of doing. Anyway, instead of cutting things multiple times. So we got that one there marked. Let's see if this will cut it. It's aluminum, so it should. I'll cut it a hair big. And it's going flying. There we go. So I cut it a hair big, so we'll grind it and round it off. Actually, this end I can just throw in the inside. Now, is this going to look right? Is it going to be long enough? You can just do that. You want to get it in there a little bit to get it glued. But you could stick it real deep in there if you wanted to. Yeah, I guess that'll work. And this will sit like that. The burrs on the end of this thing aren't letting that go on. But that'll sit kind of like that and then up and down. Yeah, that'll work. Let's first clean this up. There we go. Good enough. And then whatever one has a really bad end, I can just shove in there. So there's one. Well, now these are all going to have bad ends. But we can just keep measuring off this. And I'm going outside of the blue line to outside of the blue line. That way I have a little bit of a wiggle room as far as to grind those ends nice. No way to really hold that. It's going to go flying. Yeah, that's nice. It just looks closer together. Now the other ship, I'm going to build another one of these with the containers going in a full circle. I'm going to put the different rear end on here that has the 3 engines. And then I'm going to do where it has 4 on each side. That'll be cool. And then he gives you different decals to label it something different from the Botany Bay. So that's going to be cool. Because it doesn't take too long to print this. 2 different sequences. I can get most of the parts in one and then do the others in another. A day of printing, and then I can have this and start over to do a different version of this. And that one I might do some lighting. Like I would like to get those engines to flicker. I don't know if I go into the slicing software and try to have holes, you know, I can drill holes in the slicing software, at least pockets, try to make those something. But I think they're a sensor, so they really wouldn't be lit up anyway. They're like a forward sensor. Or maybe even some type of deflector for that time period. But I would like to get a light there, maybe one in the back. Or even just one straight up on top, which I could easily just have the printer print the hole there, bring it down into here, and then I can run the wire, just drop the LED, little SMD down there, and maybe a fiber optic. And then do something up here for marker lights. Could even put some on the container. But we'll look. There's lots of different pictures of different versions. All right, let's keep going though. We need 2 more, yeah, for the extensions. This one we'll use as one of these. These colors are all here. They're acrylics, they're water-based, spray absolutely beautiful. It won't matter because they're going to be in, each one of them is going to be in a hole, hidden. Here it goes. Then we'll measure how much is in there. Yeah, that fits nice and snug. And eventually this will go. You'll see that they have a whole bunch of really cool stuff there. Really pleased. That I used in my Bismarck, I had a couple of chunks that I had to screen out. Like that. But I think that set had been sitting around, you know, I got that included with that kit. But I bought this set brand new from USA, and it's gorgeous. Awesome. What a difference that makes. Now it's starting to look like the Botany Bay. And when you sit up there, I might just putty that little cap anyway. Make it nice and flush. So that will hide any issues. Yeah, so that's definitely going to be that, and this will be the other. I think that'll be the best way to do it, is glue them together like this first. That way I can spend time making sure everything's even. Yeah, that looks about right. I can slide these in and out if I need to. That is her. And when you put this big old beast, I keep calling these cargos, but I think what they really were the cryogenic containers. Yeah. Well, you're not going to stay on because you slide down so fast. That's cool. It's nice having a bigger version. I have the little 1000 TOS Enterprise with the Botany Bay. So it's going to be nice having a big one, a 350 scale for my 350 Enterprise. Oh, I should put some putty in these little holes in the front. Must have been bubbles or something going on there. They're really tiny, so we'll do that too. But there we are. We're putty. We're getting ready. We'll glue these in and keep sanding away to get these, especially here, get these seams all taken care of. started getting these glued together. These solar panels. That one's done. Sanded all this, so this is all good. Got some putty in this seam back here. The wonderful thing about perfect plastic putty is I can just use a wet Q-tip to get in there, and then there was a little bit of spots just on those edges there. So we are all puttied up and sanded and good. So let's get these together, and then we can start painting. I'm happy with all that too. I might do a little more sanding there.
Bondi started making them again for a little while.
Sometimes you got to be careful because
I do have a couple
when you're sanding, it looks done, but you just got powder in like a little cubby hole, and there was a little hole there. But what it's doing here is because you kind of need a thing to make it square. At least the first one, you know, when it's just about ready to cure, I was putting it on here because this does angle. They don't come straight out. It does angle them a little bit, so that's why this one looks like it's kind of tilting that way. But that's because once it's on the rest of the ship, that kind of angles, but we want those to kind of be parallel with the rest of the ship. And once I got the one, I put the other one on, and then I can just hold them like that, and that'll get them both the same. The trick is getting the first one on, you know, and where we want it right. So that was working the best. So I was just putting a little super glue on here, and then taking a Q-tip, swirling it around, because it's going to want to ooze out the other end, and you're going to push through. You can spread it down far too, because now that I'm looking here, I can go almost quite far down. Try to pick the better part of the sails to be, or the that's pretty good, but I think, like I said, the best thing was to do is to stick it in here. And you can kind of, by eye, maybe I should use, oh, come on, I don't have time for this tomfoolery. Try to make them parallel to the ship.
Somebody out there's probably done it.
Which I'm glad I did that with this one, because I didn't really think about that these kind of jet back at a slight angle. So we want these to be like that, and that's close enough.
It's kind of funny, you know, looking around at these battleship models and never come through with it. I wish they would just.
Now I got to think about how far I want these to go.
So they don't get all our hopes up and then cut us all down when we don't see what we're start expecting to never get it.
Like I said, with this one, you got that leaning now.
Titanic on my Facebook page, my Fretworks Facebook page. A couple years ago on
Put a little super glue on it.
It's been a few years ago now. It might have been on the 100th anniversary. I posted some pictures of it. Something about that. I've always been fascinated.
Try to thin it out by swirling it around. Hopefully it'll give us better coverage.
Heard all about it, read all the books and everything. When the movie came out, I brought a whole new generation of people involved in it. Larry Hedgecock says, Mike says he wants to see the Phantom Cruiser.
And there we go, and then we'll let that set up.
Kind of like the Dragonfly from
That almost looks like it's angled a little more than the other one was. There we go.
And Advantage of Film 3000, he's like our resident roving reporter. He's always updating us on our.
And we can see what it's going to look like.
The latest kicks are going to come out. For everybody else, he's got to look up.
This is kind of going to be how we're going to have to do it. Somehow. I guess I can go all the way from the black part to the... There we go. They're close. We'll figure all that out a little later. Make sure we have... I can do a measurement, make a mark there. Make the same exact measurement, make a mark there. Now when I slide them in when we're gluing, I have somewhere where I can see. But there we go. Now it's off to gluing that on and doing some painting. Well, I had the plaque print last night. Some of the lettering here, it didn't quite get the stick. It looks like even from the beginning. So it kind of looks damaged, which is kind of perfect. It's mainly the signatures and stuff. Here you can read that really good, which is nice. Of course, the SSS Botany Bay you can read good. And then the DY-100 class Starship Commission 1995. And then it has a quote from Franklin D. Roosevelt. And that's starting to slowly kind of fall apart. So I'm going to make this look like this is a plaque that was in the original ship that's kind of damaged and weathered. So that's what we'll do with that. I mean, it did a good job printing it. It just looks like maybe, unless it's supposed to be damaged, the image in the slicer comes up really small. So I had to blow it up by like 300%, I think, or at least 200, just to get it this big. I figured out what size I wanted it. We'll have I have an old Polar Lights post, the solid ones. We'll put that here. Nope, no flat edge on this. We'll put that here. And then I already put one of those rivets that I can put that in on the bottom there. I wanted to get that in now before I glued this down. I just glued this down. And I glued the solar panels on. This one might be still a little whoop, so best be careful with it. But I had some extra epoxy, so I was like, well, let's try to get this on without bumping into these, so I don't waste that epoxy. And I go glue that on anyway. But like I said, I want to build another one of these and maybe do some marker lights. And I think maybe put one up here in the front or up top. Maybe just one up top here. But we're going to make it look like a damaged plaque. So what I think is I'm going to tape all this outer border off. And we'll actually paint this a bronze. And then out here, I think I'm just going to hit with some rub and buff to make it look weathered. And then we'll weather this. I want to make it look old, like they pulled it out of the ship. But yeah, so we got to drill a hole in this. Probably should do that before I start painting. Okay, got the hole in. Found the center in here. And that'll fit that in there good. And we'll just epoxy that. And then she'll sit like that. That'll be cool. Can I let it go? It might hold a little bit. Nah, I don't trust it. No, so I like that. Just like that. And that's, I think there's one more grid when it prints the grid for the infill that's in the way. I don't know if I can go down there and get that with the drill. That gives us that much epoxy area. So I'll just start shoving epoxy down in there and then pop. Yeah, I definitely wanted to use epoxy here because with it sticking to metal, sometimes super glue just doesn't like to grab on the metal because it's too smooth. So I ran a little bit of epoxy in these wings. That'll give it stability this way from these wanting to do that. And then, of course, put it on the end of the rod and then stuff the rods in. And the nice thing about epoxy is I can come up with a paper towel and clean up. Where super glue gets a little tacky and will want to start leaving lint everywhere. Yeah, let's seal that up. Everything looks good. Well, okay. I got the base all painted up. Just have the rod sticking in there for temporary. What I did is I taped this part off, the outer side, just to leave this inner plaque. Hit that with the antique bronze from, I don't know if it's from Anita's. One of those craft acrylic paints. I don't know if it was Anita's or Folk Arts. And then put a clear coat over it. I did a semi-gloss, or you could use a gloss. Then I used a black wash. Did that. Ran that around, and I actually took a spray bottle of my alcohol from, because these I mix up. Both of these are used up from the actual Vallejo. Although this one might be more, and so I mixed up a light black and then a more darker, stronger black. So I just kept the bottles because they're convenient. And I just use black craft acrylic paint and alcohol, and it works great. And then you can use alcohol to rub and get rid of the excess for any weathering. The copper and stuff like that still original Vallejo and some of the others, but the black I use a lot. But I put that down, let it dry, and then I actually went through and took, like I said, I took alcohol in my bottle from my printers and sprayed it on there so it would kind of pool and move and kind of give it a little more natural instead of the brushy kind of, because I didn't want to wipe it off. I just wanted to get some down here and just let it do its own thing. So the extra alcohol just pooling up here helped the wash lift and kind of just do its own thing and then just settle down when it dried. And it also made it hug around the lettering, which is cool, which would be more, realistic to a plate like this, aging and stuff like that. So it really came out nice. And then on the outside, I just did a Spanish copper rub and buff, which worked good. I wasn't sure if I was going to do a gold or a silver. Really didn't want to get into the silver pewter. But I didn't want to get too much in the gold to take away from the bronze. So this Spanish copper is kind of like a chocolatey copper. It looks great. And just put it on with a brush and then rubbed it off. So you still have some black areas of the black coming through. Kind of give that even an aged look. So I'm really happy with it. And we just gotta glue that post down. I was thinking about doing maybe some lights to shine up on but I can always do that later. Let's keep this simple. And I looked over this and touched up any areas where, and sanded mainly. There was a little hole there I needed to plug, and I knew that when I glued this down. I want to clean up right there a little more, which probably will work best with just a damp Q-tip get in there. And then I want to wipe this, tack that all off, get rid of any of the dust and any particles of hair and stuff, and we're ready to paint this. But I think she's going to look good. And, I have the rivet in there so we can eventually epoxy her like that. So I think it's going to look cool. Well, I got her painted. I did a rainy day gray from Anita's, and I'm liking that. And I think I might even do my Enterprises this color. It's kind of the in between. TV series was a very light gray, and then the movie was a darker gray. This is kind of like in between. So I might do a test and see if I do this on the Enterprises, because I think it'll go good with the Aztecing. It's not too dark, but I don't want it too light like the TV series. And then I hit it with a semi-gloss coat and printed out some the decals. So there's our Botany Bay. I printed a whole sheet with the others too. Figured when I do the other version of this, I use up that whole sheet. And then I have multiples of this in case I decide to build another one of these, or if this one don't go well. But I sized them up to where I wanted them. I think I want a hair bigger than they kind of show, but I think it fits a little tighter in there, but I like that. Not much, it's just a hair. I think we can line her up right there. But being that these are homemade decals, we're going to want to get these cut nice and close so we don't have a lot of backing paper showing. So here we're going to go right across. Try to get these nice and tight. The best we go off of this one. I want to leave some film in there because I'm afraid to get into the ink. You are garbage. And yes, I did spray these with a clear coat. So hopefully they're dry enough. That's going to be our little test. Alright, I don't have much to hold on to here. Oh. I was trying to wonder if I go with an angle with the Y or keep it squared off. I think we'll keep it squared off. I know we got some backing paper, and what backing paper we have, I rather, if you do see it, the carrier film, if you do see it, I rather it be squared off. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing here. There we go. Garbage piece, right? Yep. Oh, it's so nice to be able to do your own decals now. Really have a choice with doing these 3D printed things. But I'm glad people are providing you with the decal PDFs. I'm making a mess. I'm missing the garbage can. Right now I'm painting a Sith hologram. These are the sides. And then here's the base, which fits a tea candle. I'm going to hit this with rub and buff silver or a pewter. I could probably do a gold too. Maybe I'll do a gold since I'm doing some silver parts on the other pieces that are printing. The other pieces are the parts that are going to glow. They say to do them in a transparent filament. I'm just going to do them in a white and then decide if I just let the yellow come through in the candle, or if I see if I can hit a transparent red or blue or whatever on the inside, because I did some colors on the outside for some of the wiring. I want them to be a little darker. or completely blacked out, so the whole thing just doesn't glow red, so you see some mechanics. And then that'll go like that. I'll show you when it's done. But it's pretty neat. Alright, let's get back to this. Alright, I guess we can put a piece in. I don't need those, just the regular tweezers. There's no gunk on them. Start with this one. Okay, need a paper towel. That should be in there long enough. And where is my old decal brush? Forget what one I used to use. I know I used to mark it. There it is. That way I didn't use paint or anything on that. I'm not sure how long this takes to start coming apart. Not long at all. Alright. Got a little bit of soapy water there. I start pulling it that way, but I think we're going to want to slide you off this way. Get you a little more wetter. Oh, that's working great. And we're just kind of eyeing it. Kind of guesstimate. I think the A is going to be right about, with the scale I did, the A is going to be right about in the center here, and that's kind of giving us the same from the Y to this end of this grill thing there. I mean, we can do a little, probably be easier with this. Yeah, they're about pretty close. We'll save that for the other side. Now, the question is, how do we look up and down? Are we tilting? I don't think so. It's kind of hard to tell because it's not like I cut the carrier film perfect. on manufactured ones that are template die cut, you're going to have quite clean carrier film cutoffs, but this one we're not. So well, I think that works. Sometimes you got to stand back and look. It's kind of hard when you don't have the ship sitting level. I think we're good. I mean, I can always weten it and move it. Let's see. This is going to give me a more accurate. We are so close, no one's gonna notice. All right. One side good, we can get this other side soaking. It's not really taking very long to do. I don't know if they're because they're so fresh. Oh, we can flip you around and do the other side. Got a little bit of a run there. I'll have to scuff those. Trying to spray clear outside. You guys see? This other Enterprise drive section out of the way here. Yeah, a little bit. I can just hit that with sandpaper before I do another coat of. A little bit of a run there, but we'll look at that tomorrow too, because that run might not be completely cured. But since I'm going to hit this front half with clear it over, because then we're going to start doing a wash. I want to do an all black wash, and then we'll start doing all the dirty, and then the rust and the meteor hits. Because I know, like, I have the small 1000 Enterprise with the Botany Bay that comes with it, and they show it quite tan brown. But now that I'm looking at pictures even of the original series, it was a gray, and when they show this being launched from Earth, it's a gray. So that's why I went with this gray, and then I think it's so dirty with browns and yellows and rusty colors that it made it look like it was really that color, but it's not. So I'm going to go with the gray and then dirty the heck out of it, but we'll get the black wash on there first. That'll bring up highlights and like these solar panels, and these grills here will light up a little more. All this little bit of detail will show up more, and then we'll start, you know, I might do some of my mixed brown wash, and I might even airbrush it on there too, so it's faint and fades, and I can hit heavy areas and get some streaking. And then we'll do some heavy black up at the tip here. My favorite part is washes. Sometimes they're scary because you know it's uncontrollable what you're doing. You're just kind of going for it. All right, I think you should be ready because it didn't take long from the other one. Did not take long at all. All right, flip this way. Another dip in the water, just make sure you're still started. Oh, perfect. All right, let's see if we can match. Oh, that was spacing for this. Let's see if we can match that. If we get it here, it should be good the other way. Looks like it can come down. It's starting to dry up already. Yeah, I am happy with that. We can give it a good Get rid of the Q-tip to get any air bubbles and extra water out of underneath it. Like I said, this one has a pretty decent carrier film, but it does go away fairly easy with a clear coat. Like I said, I gotta fix that little run there. It's too hard to tell how prevalent it's going to be until it completely cures. Being that it's thicker, like the rest of this I can touch, but being that that's thicker, it's probably still a little damp underneath. And I had to spray this outside where it's a little cool out tonight. But yeah, I'm liking that. So I'll hit that, let this sit and dry completely, and tomorrow we'll hit it with a clear. And then sand any little weirdness and any little dirt specks that I see. They're not dirt that you can see as far as contrast. It's just you see little bumps. We'll clean all that up. Hit with another clear, and then we'll start doing a wash on this guy.